Welcome to the Get Real Movies podcast. My name is Daniel Chadwick Shubat. I am your host, and this is episode 2, where we'll be talking about the movie Tag. For those of you who have not seen Tag, it's a film, a comedy to be exact, starring Jeremy Renner, Jake Johnson, John Hamm, Ed Helms, Isla Fisher, Hannibal Buress, and plenty of other people you would recognize. I had a great time with it, but funnily enough, about this comedy, it is actually based on a true story. It's about 10 guys who every year for 1 month will get together and play a game of tag. It is a crazy film, but an even crazier real life story, and I'm very lucky to have brought on 2 of the people that this film was based on. We're going to be talking to Father Sean Raftis and Mike Konesky, 2 gentlemen that were kind enough to come on the podcast to talk about this film. I really enjoyed our conversation, lots of laughs, and for all those people who did tune into the first episode, this is a bit of a contrast. We went from pretty dark and serious film to a more comedic and fun film about the joys of life. So I hope you enjoy this contrast. And if you haven't listened to the first episode, I do implore you to check it out after you've checked out this one, of course. So without much further ado, I'm going to get right into this podcast. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Father Sean Raftis and Mike Konesky. And I'm really, really honored to be joined by Mike and Sean as well from the movie Tag, but it's their real life. So, Mike and Sean, how are you? Nice to have you here.
Doing well. Hi, Daniel. Great to be here.
Doing great. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate for having us on.
Yeah, it's really great to have you guys. For a few people that might not know about the movie Tag, I know a lot of people that I know have watched it, but the movie Tag is all about a bunch of friends from high school who decide to keep a game of tag going years and years into their adulthood. And for every month of May, I know it's not the month of May for you guys, but the month of May for in the movie, they spend a whole month tagging, but they live in different parts of the country. So you never know who could show up and where. So I think it's probably quite a paranoia-filled month for you guys, and I know it was in the movie as well. So Tag is starring John Hamm, Jeremy Renner, Ed Helms, just a really wonderful cast, very funny cast as well. And I don't know, guys. I guess the first question I would ask both of you, I'll start with you, Sean, is what were your impressions of the film? And I also, to backtrack a bit, how was it being approached about this idea when it first came about?
Well, the film I was able to see about a month and a half in advance of the release. I had some questions, and so Jeff Tomzig, the director, sent me the watermarked version, and I was taken by its conveyance of the message of friendship that is the ultimate premise of the film. Tag, keeping in touch, and being able to revivify friendships through this juvenile game. But it was great how they really put across that golden thread of friendship, and there's one line in the movie. It isn't to stay away from one another. It's to be close to one another. And so I thought they did a really nice job. Some of the comedy bits were very good. It was very well executed. The acting was great. And the casting, I really appreciated the casting with Jerry Renner and John Hamm and everybody else, Ed Helms. Mike can attest to this in that when it came out in the Wall Street Journal, Russell Adams, we hit the front page in the lower head of the A head column, as they call it, which is reserved on the front page for kind of quirky stories. And it just was surreal how many immediately studios, documentary filmmakers, writers, a lot of people, talk shows, radio shows approached us. It was this cavalcade of attention we didn't really expect. And so it really turned into something kind of a bidding war. And then finally, Broken Road, Warner Brothers, was able to procure the rights to make the movie. And it was exciting to see that. And all just kind of seeing it from our perspective, because we're not in Hollywood. So we had an objective point of view to see how this sort of thing comes together. And it's very rare that a movie is made, and it's that a movie is looked at, and the whole process of making a film, and it was made, which is a miracle in and of itself. And so that's the process. As they approach you, we had to make an LLC at the beginning, limited liability corporation, because we had so many people approaching us. We wanted to be an organized entity, and we had a point person. In a lot of ways it was Michael, later especially, who was interfacing with the with Warner Brothers. And so just seeing it all kind of come through, it was a complex situation, but obviously they loved the premise, and the cast was assembled. There were revisions of the script, and seeing it all come together was an education in how something goes from a Wall Street Journal article or an idea through the process of writing, casting, production, post production. And because Mike was down there in Atlanta for part of the filming with Ed Helms, and he was kind of telling us how things were going. So that was helpful, and it was edifying as well.
Very cool. And then, Mike, I guess firstly I'd ask what were your impressions of the film, and then I'll go on to my other questions.
The film was definitely entertaining, and I think it captured the spirit of what we do, and we've been doing. Daniel, we've been doing this silly game of tag since we were running around at high school, running down the hallways, and yeah, that's where the whole thing started, and we've been doing it ever since. When the Wall Street Journal reached out and said they wanted to interview us for an article, it was like surreal. It was like I think Sean, myself, the rest of the guys, we all thought it was a joke, but we'd like, okay, we'll humor it. And then next thing you know, like, okay, this guy Russell Adams interviewed us, and okay, whatever. Not sure what's going to come of it. And then, like Sean said, Sean actually used the word cavalcade of media attention. I got to start using the word cavalcade a bit more. But anyway, yeah, there was a lot of attention after the article came out. It was one of the most read, if not the most read article in the Wall Street
Yeah.
Journal at the time, and we had a lot of inbound interest for the movie. Movie gets made. It went through several revisions. Mark Stylen, who's from our hometown of Spokane, Washington, wrote it and helped produce it. So certainly captured the spirit of it. There were certainly liberties taken with the story. We didn't, it wasn't an autobiographical movie by any stretch. But yeah, it's certainly entertaining. Got the message across, and yeah, Jeff Tomsic and the crew, New Line, and everybody did a great job.
Yeah, so I guess one of my questions is, you mentioned Mark there, one of the screenwriters, and then I think it was Rob McKittrick as well. Did they have some time with maybe just a few of you or all of you, where you just told them some of the stories that had happened over the years, and that's how they started developing the screenplay and fleshing it out? Or was it more of a process where they wrote the screenplay and then you weren't as involved in it?
It was more of the latter. So Mark has known us and known our families for forever. So he'd kind of heard of it, but right as he started, Mark was the original writer. Then some punch up was done by Rob. When Mark was writing the screenplay, he reached out to all of us and asked for our best stories, our life stories, if you will, um, how were families, friends, maybe other people involved in the tags, what were some of the crazier ones, and so he tried to get a lot of the information over the history, including kind of film and video that they watched of stuff that we had taken, over the years too. So, that certainly informed the movie.
And some of that film and video obviously was included at the end of the film, which was really nice to see. When a lot of people, I don't think, really knew this was a true story going into it. So when they found that out, at least I did. I looked into it, and I mean, it's part of the reason why I started this podcast. Is I know so many people who watch movies like this, and they're like, "Well, what's happened since? And how is that a true story? Where did that come from?" But I guess one thing I was going to ask then is, because this is a true story, but like you said, not autobiographical. What were some of the scenes in the film that were things that happened in real life? I guess I'll start with Sean and then ask Mike if there's anything Sean missed.
Well, there's a couple things. First, at the very beginning, when Ed Helms' character goes into uh, Hoagie goes into John Hamm's office, then he's introduced to the Wall Street Journal writer, and Ed Helms, while walking down a hall with both of them, are giving a précis of what they do. And he goes, "Yeah, we do this, we do that, we pop out of trunks." And that was one of Mike and I were involved in that to get Joe. I flew down to San Jose from Seattle. I had the tag and I got Joe that way. So that was a great memory. And so, yeah, it was that. And then the other part that was conflated to reality was when Hoagie was dressed as an elderly woman in an Afghan shawl in the mall, and Joe Cafaro had done that, waiting for Bruiser to come to his place at Renton Parks and Recreation, and got him, and that was filmed on CBS Sunday Morning. So if it's still extant, if that YouTube presentation of Tag You're It on CBS Sunday Morning, you can see it.
That's so cool. And Mike, was there any other scenes that really stuck out to you where you're like, I remember that happening, or that's, close enough?
Yeah, well, so there was a tag at a funeral, and that happened. That actually happened at Patrick Schulteis's dad's funeral in Spokane. And I remember Beef was it. So we all went to the memorial. Of course, we're in the church at St. Al's, and Beef was it. And he came up behind. Of several of us were kind of in the back, and he said, "Yeah, I'm," because Patrick was in the front row with his family, his dad, and Beef said, "I think I'm going to tag him," and we're like, it would be kind of a cool thing. Because Judge Schulteis, who was Patrick's dad, was really into the game. He really loved the friendship aspect of it. Big, big, big belly laughs every time somebody got tagged, and so we went through with it, and everybody loved it. So that was certainly one. But there were snippets of other ones. Breaking and entering. I've been a part of that. We don't do that so much anymore these days, Daniel, but
Fair, fair.
but that has occurred. Um, yeah, so it was fun to see some of our stories on the silver screen.
Very cool. I definitely enjoyed that part. Laughing at a funeral. It's something that I think anyone who's lost a loved one has experienced. It's a very weird emotion, laughing at a funeral, but it in a way is very cathartic and very, yeah. It kind of makes you realize the good times as well. So I'm glad that happened in real life. That's really cool to know.
Yeah, certainly, a light moment on a heavy day. Sure.
Exactly, exactly. I did want to ask Sean. People wouldn't know this listening right now, but you're obviously a priest.
Yes.
I want to ask: does your parish know about the game? Has there ever been a time where you were in front of your parish or in the church and you got tagged? That's something I'd like to know for sure.
Great that you asked that. It's a great question. First of all, Mike's going to appropriate the word cavalcade from me, so I'm going to start using big belly laugh
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
homilies all the time.
There you go.
So yeah,
Nice.
no, actually, present company included. It was the first of all, my parishes do know about it, and they love it. They think it's great. People coming from out of town. I live very close to Glacier Park as well as Whitefish Resort, and people come in from all over the United States, if not the world. And occasionally they'll come out of mass and hit my shoulder and say, "Hey, Tag, you're it." And they know that it's the month of February too. And I will put not wanted posters out on my doors to say, "This is who's it. Don't let them in." But during one, it was a few years ago. I was at another parish, and I usually, to get ready for mass to process in, I go outside the church doors and go into the back and wait. Well, we started Mass, and I processed in, venerated the altar, and then sat down. And at the angle I was looking at the front row were Mike and Joe. They were in the front row. And I told people, and everybody knew who they were because it was a very small town and a very small parish. So people, because of the shows that we had been on, uh, Mike and Joe were recognizable, and they were actually a little nervous that they were so recognizable. And I just looked at them, and everybody started laughing when I looked around. The look on my face, I was absolutely stunned. And I said, "Well," I said before I made the sign of the cross, I said, "Now you know how it feels to be a elk or deer in hunting season," which it which is what Joe had said in the Wall Street Journal article, which nailed it perfectly. It articulated how we really feel. But it was great because we waited. Mike and Joe respectfully waited until after Mass. Then I asked Mike to come up and say a few words, and he did. And I tried to integrate the tag movie or the experience of friendship in Christ with my homily. And then Mike came up after Mass and said hello to everybody and tagged me. And then we all went out to breakfast afterwards. So it was a great moment. And they had me too. I had no idea they were going to be there until I was in my presider's chair.
So you didn't have a really a spot to go to. I guess, Mike, would you say that you planned this like far in advance? Because obviously there's travel involved and there's different things. So what goes into the process of, let's say, this specific situation? What goes into the process of tagging Sean?
Well, yeah, that one was planned well in advance. Yeah, certainly travel. Had to get a buddy. So Joe T came with me on that one. Um, so a lot of planning, but a lot of it is still kind of loose ends too. Like you don't know how things are going to go down when you get on site, if you will, because anything can go wrong, Daniel. Things can go sideways. You need contingency. So but it helped in this case that Father Sean's parishioners were all on board and excited about it. We met. I think the organ player was like in the vestibule, and we're like, "Hey, we want to tag Father Sean," and she was all on board. So it's good to get other people involved because they get really excited about it. And I'd say for the rest of the guys too. I mean, there's a lot more planning goes into a lot of these tags than I think I've really ever done too. So yeah, a lot of thought and planning goes into some of them.
Yeah, after that tag, Sean, you must have been a little bit like, you guys got to be better. You can't, you put me out to pasture like that.
Yeah, it was like shooting fish in a barrel, as they say in the United States. But it was great because I hadn't seen Mike and Joe in a long time, and it was a look. I have no poker face. I have. I was just very grateful and happy, but very surprised to see them. So that's what the greatest part of it is.
Well, that's a good quality to have as a priest, not a
Yeah,
poker face, right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is true. Except in
um,
confession.
yeah, of course. But luckily, usually they can't see you there, as far as, or unless the
Yeah,
movies
yeah.
present that wrong.
That's that. No, no. Yeah, that's right. The movies are very accurate.
That's good. I did want to ask you, going back to the film. Obviously, there's 10 of you that participate in this, from what I read. That's
Correct.
correct.
Yes, that's right.
And in the movie, there was only six, I believe.
Right. Right.
So would you say that those characters that they made for the movie, were they a combination of you, or is there one person where you see, oh, that's clearly me, or that's clearly someone else? Or I guess if we could go through the main characters, who would you say is the most like that one?
Yeah. There were some that were closer to some of us than others. I think what Mark Stylen tried to do in writing the movie is capture personalities from all 10 of us and make it a movie based on these 10, but loosely based. Um, one that's very apparent is Jake Johnson's character, who's Beef, and it was very clear that was going to be Beef. You kind of go down the list, and we can kind of match up characters to personalities, but the beauty, I think, of what we've been doing as 10 friends who went to high school is there's 10 of us that are in different professions, have taken different life paths, and you know, very, very diverse kind of, career paths and life paths. And yet we're all still friends. It's not lost on us that as we get older, that's a special thing. And so I think if you look at, John Hamm and Jeremy Renner and Ed Helms and even some of the female characters, the wives and girlfriends who represent some of our uh, significant others and the like, I think they really did a great job of kind of capturing kind of the spirit of the humor and the sensitivity and just the raw friendship across all of us.
I think it is a rare thing now in the world. I think we see that more and more in North America, at least from what I've seen. Is it's a very polarized world we live in. So to have different friends from different life paths and different career choices, and still being able to get together at least once a year, maybe not always every year, but keeping that friendship going from so many years. I mean, I have, I think, two friends that I'm still quite close to from high school, and most of them are from university and after. But surrounding yourself with people that are different with you really at least keeps your curiosity going, and keeps you open to new experiences. And I think that's probably a lot what this game is about. Is it keeps you excited and on your toes too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And and like Sean said, it's turned into, yeah, you can do a tag, but then like, man, let's go to dinner, let's go to breakfast, let's catch up. It's been a while since we've seen, what's going on in your life, and it's a great way to catch up.
For sure. And so I'm guessing then Beef is the funniest character in your group if he's based on Jake John.
I Funny? I don't know, Sean. How would you? Yeah, yeah, probably funniest. Sure. Let's go with that word, Daniel.
If he listens to this, I feel like there'll be some choice words when you next see each
Yeah,
other.
yeah. We know that's coming already.
No, well, I when I think about the film, some of the best lines of the film definitely are Jake Johnson's character, and I definitely think they play with the lines of dark humor, not just tagging at a funeral, but using a miscarriage as a way to get out of getting tagged. And there's like they definitely play with the line, but they do it in such a way where I was watching it with my girlfriend like earlier last week, and we both got something out of it, even though we both have different senses of humor, and we both were chuckling at different parts. And I was like, really, that's what made you laugh? And then she's like, really, that's what made you laugh? So that's really funny. I i obviously had the chance to talk to more of the guys, but with it being a podcast, would have been a little crazy to keep a track of everyone. But from what you told me, you guys are actually going to be meeting up in a week and a half or so. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about that?
It, I was kind of gobsmacked, as they say. I think all of us were. We are inducted into the Gonzaga Prep Hall of Fame. That will be on the 24th of January, which is Wednesday. And so, as many of us as possible will converge. And there will be a number of other Gonzaga Prep alums who will be honored as well. So, we're honored as kind of one entity, whereas there's like Daryl Stevens and Terry Stroshine and other people. But we're collectively going to, which is, I'm glad. I think it's great because we are able to, together kind of represent ourselves, and rather than an individual. And we'll have one person, I think, Ted McGregor will say a few things about us as part of the induction ceremony. But again, it's going to be nice just to see everybody.
Yeah, and it feels like a missed opportunity that they didn't do this in February, though.
That was intentional. Otherwise, it would have been chaotic.
Well, believe
Okay.
me, Daniel, as the guy who's currently it and lives farthest away, that would have been nice.
That's literally was going to be my next question. So, are you thinking, Mike, you're going to be sticking around in the U.S. an extra week and a bit to try and get rid of it, or are you gonna have to wait another year?
Daniel, that's none of your business. No, I'm kidding. No.
Sorry, Sean. I know you asked me to
Thank
find
you.
out. Yeah, I
Right.
apologize.
Exactly.
The check's in the mail, Daniel. Thank
Exactly.
you.
I appreciate the question. I can't now. Yeah, still a little TBD whether I'm even be able to make it, but yeah, it certainly has crossed my mind that it would be nice to kind of go to this Hall of Fame, which is our high school Hall of Fame. Go to this ceremony and then maybe stick around for the following week until February 1st.
Until February 1st. Just get it done real quick and then get out.
Maybe.
I mean, you are in a unique situation living in Europe where you can, get in, get out, and most people don't want to spend $1,000 to just get rid of when they can go somewhere closer by, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to spend $1,000 to get rid of it, being it. That's part of being it. That's like the shame and the
The
weight you
glory,
carry, the glory, the
the
power, and the
glory,
glory.
and because you can be the first one. You're sitting in the catbird seat at the beginning of the month.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're lying in the wait for sure. I guess one question that could lead to for me is I don't know if you guys know this, but you know what the farthest distance has been to go tag someone? Like, what is the farthest distance that someone's traveled to go tag someone in the game?
Well, I believe that just happened this past year, where I was tagged in Amsterdam, where I live, and BD, uh, Brian, who I think you initially contacted, Daniel. He does quite a bit of international travel, and he and his wife, as it turns out, were coming through Amsterdam on their way on a vacation to Italy. And there was a setup with my wife involved, Jackie, who doesn't hesitate to throw me under the bus. And so, really, Daniel, it was like over a canal, over a bridge over a canal in Amsterdam, and blindsided me and got me. So yeah, that was a Seattle to Amsterdam tag, which is I think the longest one.
Well, yeah, I think that'll be hard to break, honestly.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. I feel for you though. Your wife doing that to you, that must have been a tough moment to
Yeah.
realize that.
Oh, believe me, she likes it though.
Well, yeah. It sounds like the significant others have gotten quite involved too, which seems to be, I don't know, a nice kind of caveat to it as well.
Oh yeah, certainly, yeah. Significant others, are kids.
Joe Tomberry and his daughter Christy dressed up as an elderly couple in Spokane, going to dinner at an Italian restaurant in which Beef and his mother were having dinner, and it was a successful tag. But Christy did great. She the kids in it love it, and they're more than willing to throw their parents under the bus frequently.
Oh yeah, and I've conspired more than once with Ake's kids and
Yeah,
Meng's Meng's kids
yeah,
got all
yeah.
excited. Yeah, totally.
So there could be a future spies amongst the offspring then.
They are operative right now.
For sure. Yeah, Lepus, his two boys are all over it too.
Wow. Yeah, I guess my one of my final questions in terms of about the film, it's really cool hearing all these stories. So, two questions. One, I'll start with both of you is on a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate would you rate this movie? Obviously, you said it's more of a inspired by the true story rather than autobiographical, but how well would you say it captures what you guys do every month of February? I'll start with you, Mike, and then Sean.
Oh, you're going to start with me. It's probably a 6 or a 7. As far as what it captures, I think what actually happens in real life is a lot more X-rated and raw. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. It was loosely based, but I think captured the spirit.
Nice.
I concur. Copy that. I think that the spirit was really well replicated. The stories, interestingly enough, are very accurate in the Wall Street Journal article that Russell wrote, and the stories were kind of wholesome. I mean, just sneaking in to tag somebody or flying down. It was kind of, I think the tags themselves are well orchestrated, well thought out, and just kind of accessible to anybody and everybody of every age.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And so, one of my final questions is, obviously you said that Mike was down in Atlanta for a bit, but did you guys get to at the premiere? Did you go to the premiere? Did you get to meet the cast? Did you kind of get to have a tete-a-tete with the people who played you? Because I'm sure all the guys were vying on who John Hamm was playing, because that's a handsome fella right there. So did you get to experience that at all, or was it more separate? You had your own sort of screening and all of that.
Yeah, we were very fortunate that they broke the fourth wall, so to speak, and let us be on set. A number of us actually ended up on set in Atlanta later and met the cast, and um, to a person, everybody was just so great. And then the weekend of the premiere, Jeremy Renner was nice enough to invite us all up to his house up in the Hollywood Hills, and we just, I mean, it wasn't lost on us, just a bunch of idiots we all went to high school with, and we're on the Today Show and CBS and ESPN and meeting in LA to go to a movie premiere and going up to Jeremy Renner's house and hanging with John Hamm and Ed Helms and Sebastian Maniscalco and Leslie Bibb and just everybody in the movie. We got a pretty cool shot at some point too, but it was great to just kind of get to know them and just kind of share some similarities of growing up and just kind of really really cool, nice people.
And Mike was the point person in a lot of ways, which was great. We all huddled up right before. I think it was right before, right after we went into the house and said, "Okay, guys, we stay up to 2 hours, and then we very, courteously and politely leave, so we wouldn't be like on Saturday Night Live, like the things that wouldn't leave." So we wanted to just be there, be grateful for the graciousness. And Mike had said a few things, at the end of dinner, with everybody gathered, and we gave a couple gifts to the cast members, and we just wanted to show our gratitude, and it worked out really, really well. And I was very grateful to Jerry and the cast and everybody, crew, and the director for having us up, and the producer.
Yeah, for me, the first two episodes I've done now, it's interviewing people who were quite involved in the process, and it was a really kind of cohesive experience. So it's nice that they involved you, but I think that also probably comes through in the film when you're closer to the people who actually lived it. You get to translate that into the film if you're a good actor, which, I mean, that cast is stacked. So
By the way, Hannibal Buress is fantastic. And as funny as he comes across, the one-liners, even off camera and hanging behind the scenes or at the after parties, hilarious.
well, there's two comedians there that I love. Hannibal Buress is obviously wonderful, and then Sebastian Maniscalco. He has a very small role in the film, but I mean, he is. I've seen him in Ottawa, and he's getting more into acting now, and I'm glad, because I love seeing comedians in films, especially if they're good actors, which him and Hannibal are. So yeah, I really appreciate you both taking the time today. I like to end it on a little bit of a different note and talk about, make sure that we're still talking about films. So I want to start with you, Sean. What is one of your favorite movies? What is a movie that you'd like to recommend to the listeners that they might want to watch, and why?
Can I mention two?
Sure, of course.
The first movie is probably my favorite movie, which is a holiday favorite. It's called It's a Wonderful Life. It was directed by Frank Capra and starring Jimmy Stewart and a number of other great character actors. And it talk about friendship. I think it conflates a lot with our story, because at the very end it says, "No man is a failure who has friends." And that's true. Even if you have one friend, I mean, honestly, in our lives, if we have one friend, that's makes all the difference in the world for everything. So that whole movie was based on the premise, what if he had not been born? And it shows all these bad things, how things would have gone haywire if he would not have been there to make others' lives better. George Bailey is the protagonist, and so it's just a beautiful movie, very moving. And the second movie is, in my opinion, it's the best comedy ever made, which is called "It's a Mad, 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 Mad World," and it is full of kind of Hollywood's golden era of not only comic actors, comedians, but character actors, and they have cameos through the whole thing. But it's the writing, and if you watch it a few times, the writing, the acting, the expressions, the dialogue, it's all, I would say a sui generis film, because it's all very funny, and there's nothing superfluous in the movie. As a matter of fact, they released an edition with the outtakes. But it is if you want something lighthearted, you don't have to watch the whole movie at one time, and you want to lighten your mood, watch either one of those movies.
You'll start with It's a Wonderful Life, and then add with It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World.
Yes. 4. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Yes.
Oh,
very
I almost
good.
got it.
No,
Well,
that's perfect.
I'm gonna have to watch that one because I have not seen that one. So now I have a good recommendation for the weekend.
Thank you.
And then Mike, 1 or 2 or 3. There's no rules here.
I'll just do a couple real quick, and very similar to It's a Wonderful Life. I would pick Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards.
Very similar. You're right.
It's similar plot lines and the like.
Yes. Touches the heart.
I would just. I'm a Quentin Tarantino fan, so I would I would pick any Tarantino one, or Scorsese, I would say. But and probably my favorite film right now is Interstellar with Anne Hathaway and Matthew McConaughey, and just because I'm kind of a sci-fi freak, and the science behind it was interesting, but more importantly was the plot line. And I'd say I won't ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but just the relationships between fathers and daughters and family was struck a chord with me there. So.
Yeah, the more times I watch that film, the more you just find something new out of it. And as a big Scorsese and Tarantino fan, I agree. And there is something heartwarming about seeing Hitler die. Sorry,
totally.
Spoilers.
Oh yeah.
Spoilers, but I'm sorry. I know that's not very Catholic of me to say.
No. Actually, it's interesting that you say that, because there's a very good history book that came out. It's called Church of Spies, and that Pope Pius XII had given permission for the Catholic members of the Catholic Church to do that very thing, because it falls in with Just War Initiative. And he did, not to get too serious, but I like that revisionist aspect to that, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where they did away with the crazy Manson family.
I know. Well, it's very weird how he rewrites history, but it's in such a nice way for people who who don't like the big bad villains of history. I'm reading a book right now all about Charles Manson and the history behind it, and not a good guy. But
so on that note, everybody listening, go out and watch Tag. It's a great comedy.
Yes, 100%. Yes. Yeah, I would definitely recommend that people who haven't seen Tag already watch it. You can listen to the podcast before or after. I don't think we spoil it too much. Sean and Mike, I wouldn't say there's anything really to promote for you guys, but if there's anything you would like to promote, now's your time.
Your podcast.
Oh,
Get Real Movies. That's what I'd promote.
Yeah, that's what we promote for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, I appreciate
you.
that.
Thanks for reaching out to us.
Yeah, and thank you so much to Brian as well for connecting us. And everyone watch Tag, and have a wonderful time at the reunion. So there you have it, everyone. That was my interview with Mike and Sean. I had a really wonderful time chatting with them, I'll be honest. And I also got some new movie recommendations, which is not something I get very often. So I'm really happy about that little caveat at the end where we asked them about some of their favorite films, because there's some that you get that you might not think that you're going to hear from these different guests. And they were really gracious with their time in different time zones. We figured it out together and it was wonderful. I would definitely love to have them back on in the future to talk a little bit more about the film. Maybe some of the other guys can come as well if we're in a video format, because they were just really, really fun to chat to. So I wanted to let you know about the next episode. It's not going to be an interview, it's going to be a review with my old co host, Mason. I'm super excited to chat with him again. We're going to be talking about the film One Love, which is the Bob Marley story that comes out in the middle of February. So that episode is going to come out in a few weeks. I'm very excited to chat with him again. So you're going to be getting that episode in a few weeks. The episode after that, however, is also very exciting because we're going to be talking to Jim Morris, who is from the movie The Rookie with Dennis Quaid. For people who don't know, it's about one of the oldest rookies ever in the Major League Baseball. It is a movie that I really enjoyed when I was a kid, and I can't wait to chat with him. So lots of good stuff coming in the rest of February. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really enjoyed this one. I hope you did as well. And until next time, enjoy the movies. Take care.